Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jim Ron. Today we're going to try to figure out what in the world is Before We Leave. It is developed by Balancing Monkey Games and published by Team 17. And it is a hexagon-based city builder, which is quite interesting. I love city builders very, very much, to the point that I rarely play them because I get addicted to them and my whole day just goes away. I'm not entirely keen on block-based city builders. However, this one, for a grid-based city builder, it is quite significant, I would say. It's a brilliant little game, and we're gonna go and do it here. But I do want to say that I fucking hate NVIDIA because every time I update my drivers, it resets everything. So I just made this video. It took me a few minutes. And I realized that my audio was not recorded because Shadowplay just keeps changing the default input device. So I just basically had a practice run, I guess. So we're gonna see it on a positive light, which is a great way to stay sane. So we're gonna get into the settings here as usual. First of all, we're gonna look at the preferences here. There's English. You can change the language and all that stuff. You got the hints and how long you want to stay on the screen. You got autosave frequency, info pins, and everything, which is pretty great. You got some accessibility settings here, which is pretty cool. You can change the cursor size. You can also change the color of the cursor, which is pretty cool. Smooth camera, night brightness, on-screen camera controls, and all that good stuff. Camera controls with a little bit of a description of what they all do underneath them, which is pretty nice. Audio, you have separate sliders, but the one slider that is missing is actually the master slider, which is not a massively huge deal. I'm not gonna cry over it. It's weird that it's missing. Usually if you see separate sliders, you do have also the master slider, but it's not a big deal. I would have liked for it to be there. Maybe, since the game is still in early access, maybe they'll add it in the future, who knows. But if the developer's watching, hey, here's a little bit of feedback for you. Graphics, the game works perfectly fine on ultra-wide resolution, which is pretty cool. It actually also does have an FOV slider, which I've never seen on a city builder. Ever. I've never seen it on anything top-down, actually, now that I think about it. So that's actually pretty cool. I'm not gonna knock that. You have VSync, gamma, graphics settings here, and then you have your separate options. You got anti-aliasing, shadow quality, texture quality, extra details, ambient occlusion, atmosphere, clouds, and weather rendering. You have a drop down for those options, which is great. The worst thing that a game can have in its settings is actually the carousel option, where once you reach the maximum value and you click right again, it goes back to the lowest value, which is ridiculously annoying to deal with. But I think this is the best way to do it, just to drop down, and then you know what the maximum is. And also I appreciate that on the graphics level it says high, and there's also low, high, and medium or off. There's no like very high or explosive high or whatever. That's good. I like that. Then you got your key bindings here, which I don't actually use. I just use the WASD to navigate, so take that as you may. And let's jump into the game and see what we've got. Like I said, again, this is a grid-based city builder, which is interesting game to say the least. I was quite impressed with how nice the game is, and I did sink a few hours in it, trying to learn the basics and all this stuff. I had a little bit of trouble with colonizing, but I am happy to say that I figured all that stuff out. So this is the basic premise of the game. You have these hexagons here, and then you have the road system, which every building that you plop down will have to be attached on a road. I'm kind of noticing that my mouse and my game is actually running at 60 FPS, if I'm not mistaken, which is cool. Let me just hit Alt-R here and see. Yep, the game is actually running at 60 FPS, which is odd, but that might be just the game is capped at 60 FPS, which is fine. It's a city builder. I don't need on 20 FPS. And I am gonna investigate on this later and add it on the written review. So you have your basic structure here. I suck at city builders, so even though I love them, I'm not good at them. So figuring out the best layout is not my forte. I just kind of improvise as I go. But this is the basic thing about this game. You have your happiness of your population, which is important to keep them in your island. You have your food section here. This is your food production. Just got to make sure that everybody's being fed. If they're running out of food, there will be a notification here saying, hey, we're kind of starving, make some food, bitch. This is your clothing and your quality of life. This is your production level field. This shows you what kind of resources each island has. This is your smarts. This is where you find the green research and red research values. I'll speak to these here in a second. And this is the fertility on the island. It shows you what kind of food and resources it can produce when it comes to that. So once you colonize your first island, you're gonna see a bunch of resource here. Usually it's a green resource. This is what the green resource is here. You build an explorer's hut, and then that explorer will go and collect that research, and they're going to bring it back to their hut and then onto the library, where it's going to be used for researching new things. Some research needs green research value, some of them needs red, and some of them need both. So once you run out of stuff that only needs green, which is found on this island only, then you're gonna have to send that resource with a trading ship onto a different island that actually has access to both of the resources, and then you just got to keep finding islands so you can get more research and all this stuff, which is the basic premise of the game. You have colonization options. So I have made my way onto the second island here, and each island has its own attribute that kind of hinders your gameplay capability. So this one is a sandy area. It's the only one island that can actually produce glass, because this is where you get the sand from, which is, let's see, this guy is the sand mine, and they send the sand onto the smelter, and that makes glass, which is really important. It's required for certain types of buildings as you progress, and since the first island cannot get any sand to make glass, then you have to either send the sand over to the other island, and then they use their smelter and they produce the glass, or you actually just send the glass there, depending on how you want to go. So just keep that in mind. And then my second island here is a snow island. This island can only grow basic crops. It can only grow potatoes, so that's going to be your limiting factor there. It cannot grow anything else, and most importantly, it cannot grow cotton, which cotton is actually required to make clothes. So I have to make the clothes here because this is where the cotton is, or I could just make the cotton here, send the cotton all the way to this island, and then this island can produce their clothes themselves. So that's one way of doing things. There's a couple of ways of doing things. You can choose however way you want to do it. It doesn't really matter. Ultimately, the goal is to keep everybody warm and happy so that they don't revolt. Eventually, you're going to find the ruined spaceship. Once you repair the ruined spaceship, you can go onto a different planet, but you still maintain these planets. Just keep that in mind. I believe, I'm not entirely certain, maybe when you go into the next planet, you just leave this Earth behind and you move on to the next one. To the next one, I believe this world has actually 5 planets, and I haven't made myself to the next one yet. The roads cannot be obstructed by anything. You have to put down the roads, and every building again has to be attached on a road. As you can see, my horrible way of doing business here, this is just messy, but it works. That's all I know. It's functional. I could potentially get rid of this road here and see this is not connected anymore, so when your minions walk on non-road areas, they slow down dramatically. So it's always best to have a road so they can just walk and get to where they're going a lot faster. For example, if we're on Island 1 here, if I take away a lot of this road, they will choose to go all the way around to reach a destination here instead of just going through this way. I was witnessing it, I was mind-blown that it was happening, but I don't know if it's actually faster to go around, or they're like, oh, there's already a road there, so why not go there? Which, again, it's you gotta have logistics on this game. That's the end of that. I don't actually have any planning capabilities. I'm really stupid when it comes to this, but I'm sure you're gonna figure it out. So this is the port here. You can build a shipwright, which builds new ships. I have a few ships here. This is an exploratory ship. I'm actually going to build this so I can explore the rest of the Earth. I don't believe I've explored. Have I explored all of it? Yeah, I actually have. Yeah, there's only 3 islands on this one, which is cool. I'm getting ready to actually build my spaceship so I can go on the next building. I can cancel this one since I don't actually need it. This is a colony ship where you can use it to colonize other islands. I don't need any more again because I have found all the islands here and so forth. I'm gonna go over the building menu here. So you have the basic ones. You got the house options here. You got the fountain. You got to keep everybody happy, stuff like that. You have the production ones that are like mostly food and water and all that goodness, which is really essential for your people. You need to have water and you need to have food for them to survive. Keep that in mind. Some islands have certain fertility issues, so for this one I cannot grow any trees because I cannot grow any orchards. It's not viable, so I have to do a trade between these 2 islands. This island, my second island, has the fertility to bring over the trees, and I'll get into the trade system here in a second. This is the production stuff. This is where you put down your woodcutter, your quarry, and all that stuff. Keep in mind, everything except the woodcutter, you actually have to place them next to their designated resource. So for this one, for example, where is it? This is this is the rusting hulk. This needs an iron mine to mine iron. You cannot place any more on that resource. You can only do 1 per resource there, but there's usually more than 1 anyway, and you actually have to place it next to it. And there's also got to be a road attached to it, so just keep that in mind. And that's it for that one. This is the research and cleanliness options. You can only have 1 library, but you can have multiple explorer huts. I'll just drain the research points on the island a lot quicker. You have the logistics. This is where you keep your warehouses and your stepped warehouses, your bridges and your ports and all that stuff, and the elevators. This is the actual industry stuff. This is where you smelt iron and you smelt sand to make glass, and you refine fuel. You refine oil to turn it into fuel. This is the one that keeps your people happy, quality of life one. You got the kitchen, you got the smoothie maker. I actually don't believe I have a smoothie maker. Oh, it pollutes. Interesting. I will place you here, since you pollute. You got your marketplace, you got your weaver, and you have your tailor, which is great. You have your energy production buildings. This is a wood generator, and then you have an oil generator. Obviously, there's going to be more buildings as you progress through the research tree. This is just the stuff I have unlocked so far. You do need one to make the other work. So you need the wood generator to produce energy for the iron mine, for example, or the smelter or the toolsmith here to actually produce tools. You need iron, you need wood, and you need power. There's no power grid. You just produce the power and then it goes magically to that building. So that's how that works. And you have some decoratory stuff, which is pretty nice. Again, the decorations help to make your place a little bit better and keep your people happy. That was an autosave. That's awesome. There's that. And then I just wanted to lastly talk about the shipping mode here. This is the trade screen. So the way this works is a little bit more complicated than I would like it to be. Let's say this island needed a bunch of, I don't know, fucking water. So you put down the desired amount of water that you always want to have. And then, let's say I have 59 right now, so I want to have 100. if the amount that you put in is actually higher than the amount that you have, it will automatically turn into an import option. If you have it on lower, then it's exporting water because we have too much water. I only want to keep 20 water. Let's say I want to keep only 20 water on this island. Once I set this, every water that I make that is over 20 will be going to the shipyard to be traded. And then for island number 1 here, for example, I put down water. I am looking to have 500 water on this island at all times. The game will kind of automatically do it for you, where if this island has excess water or this island has excess water, when you set it on the trade screen, then it will send the water to the island that is requiring the water. So that's how the trading works. It's kind of like a balance thing. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would have rather just do the traditional way of setting, just exporting or importing, and by how much. This also works, however, because you can just have your ships on auto mode. As you can see, every trading ship that I have is on auto mode, and it just kind of does their own thing. So after you kind of get used to the idea of how it works, I have come to accept it, if not prefer it from the traditional trading methods that you do. So no fruit available. So this was a waste. I'm just going to destroy that because there's no fruit. I'm going to make a smoothie maker here. There's already a lot of pollution there, so I'm just going to put you there. Let's see, how are we doing in fruit here? We got plenty, which is perfect. We got meals, we got tea, we don't have good meals, so hopefully that's what the smoothie. Oh, that's the smoothie. I do have a smoothie maker here already. Interesting. I keep forgetting. I'm not good at this. So yeah, this is basically the game. It has a bunch of overlays as well. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but you have weather overlays, building types, and all the good stuff. You have the happiness overlay, which shows you which buildings produce what type of... Oh, here's the smoothie maker. What type of happiness levels, which is great. Obviously, buildings that are centered around industry will not have a lot of production for happiness, but buildings that is housing situation, all that stuff, they're going to have a lot of happiness there. So the higher quality the building, the higher the happiness levels, and all that good stuff. And that's essentially it, really. That's the premise of this game. It's still in early access. If it releases from early access and it still has a lot of content in it, I will be sure to make another video. However, if not much has changed, I might just change my written review a little bit on Steam and on YouTube, and yeah. So far, it's a thumbs up for me because it is only $19.99 or your regional equivalent. So yeah, hope you found this one useful, and I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.